Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we have another Schleich set to take a look at. This is a very cool looking set with a newer variant of this Velociraptor right here. This raptor has been released by Schleich in the past, but we have an alternate variant as well included in this set. We also have what I would imagine is potentially a Compsognathus, and then some sort of a lizard it looks like in there as well. And then we've got a very, very large Ceratosaurus skull over here included. So very cool. I believe it's some kind of like a trap or something along those lines to kind of maybe catch the raptors, and maybe that's exactly why we have that lizard in there. Maybe he's the bait. I'm not too sure, but it looks really neat. It's a set that I've been wanting to get a hold of for quite some time. We have another image here on the side, pretty much the same image actually that we saw on the front. Same deal over for the other side, and then on the back you can see again that we have a image here showing us what different figures are included, as well as an image down here showing off some other Schleich releases, some of which are not even actually available anymore. I think this one's no longer available and that one's no longer available, which is unfortunate. I would have really liked to have gotten a hold of those, but once they get discontinued, the prices are usually through the roof, so something that I probably won't be getting a hold of, but regardless, I'm pretty certain that one there is still available. And then we have an image over here of the Schleich Rex, the Dunkleosteus, as well as the Anhanguera up there from Schleich. So some pretty cool images over there showing off some other figures available from Schleich. So let's go ahead, pop this open, and check it out. So we've got ourselves a Compsognathus. We've also got ourselves a bearded dragon. We also have ourselves a Velociraptor. And then we have probably the most impressive thing that I've seen in quite some time, the huge Ceratosaurus Skull. It is absolutely gigantic, like so much bigger than I thought it was going to be. I have quite a few dinosaur skulls in my collection. I don't know if I have any as big as this Ceratosaurus skull. It is just absolutely awesome looking. Definitely worth the price of admission for the skull alone, and then the dinosaurs to the left of it are pretty much some awesome extras that you get. It really, really is very impressive. It honestly blew me away, and of course you have articulation in it, so you can actually open the jaw, and you can open it pretty wide if you choose to go that route. This would be, I guess, a trap technically to... I just bumped the camera, but a trap technically to catch the raptor or the compy or whatever dinosaur is going to go after our poor little bearded dragon right here. But it's super impressive, like absolutely blew me away when I opened the packaging and saw how massive that skull is. It is just enormous, which you can probably already tell just looking at it in comparison to that raptor right there, because the raptor is a decent sized figure when it comes to raptors, and that skull completely dwarfs it. So let's go ahead and jump straight to a closer look at all of this awesome stuff right now. So as far as the raptor goes, we have reviewed this raptor in the past. This is actually a release from quite a while ago. It's been out for some time, but the initial version was an alternate color scheme. We have a brand new paint variant, and I absolutely love the coloration of this one. I think it's a very nice, very appealing look. And they've also given it that nice Schleich dark wash, which really highlights all of the detail in a very realistic way, and that's something I'm always a huge fan of. But as far as, going over this figure, we only really need to take a look at what's different from this one compared to the previous one, and that, again, would be the paint scheme. So you can see as far as the coloration goes, we pretty much have like a nice dark reddish maroon for the majority of the upper side of the dinosaur. You can see it start out here in the snout, run up over the top of the head. It kind of comes down into the eyebrow area. You can see some alternate tones of color with kind of like a light khaki-ish brown showing up in the palate as well as the lower jaw. But then you can see that kind of maroonish color run down the entire course of the body, down into the legs, pretty much halfway, a little bit around the kneecap, maybe slightly after as well. And then again, we have that kind of light tone of like this khaki-ish brown for the underside of the dinosaur. And you can really see how nice and how realistic looking the detail is, thanks to, again, that dark wash being included. Definitely a great choice on the part of Schleich. The arms are completely that brownish color, where you see that kind of maroon run down and through the leg. You don't see that on the arms, so the arms remain that brownish coloration. We have some very nicely painted nails with a black. You have a nice gloss coat on the black as well. You can see the same thing for the feet down here, and again, the dew claws and everything. And then up here on the back, you can see that we have some green spots that show up here in the back region, but end up here cutting off before we reach out too far into the tail. As far as the jaw goes, we do have an articulated jaw. It doesn't open too far, but it does articulate. You can see the inside of the mouth sports a nice red tone for the tongue, and the teeth are all sculpted individually and all painted individually, so they look pretty good. Doesn't really look like there's any sloppiness, honestly, as far as the paintwork goes at all. There is also a really nice coat of green for the eye with a nice black slit-like pupil, and that has a beautiful gloss coat, and the nostrils as well do have a gloss coat, which is something that not many companies do, but I always really quite like that aspect. We also have articulation in the arms of the raptor, which isn't always something that you see when it comes to figures of this style, and I really do quite like that because it can give you pretty much the opportunity to pose it however you would like as far as the arms go, but I love that nice natural look of the arms held into the body. So as far as a scaly raptor goes with some slight feathering running down the arms, this is a beautiful version of that Schleich Raptor with a very nice paint scheme. And then we've got ourselves the little Compsognathus, and he as well is really quite awesome. I love the sculpt. I think the sculpt looks really neat. If my camera would stay focused on it, you can see some pretty nice detailing throughout. You have some nice skin texture, very fine skin texture, and a pretty nice looking paint scheme for him. There's quite a bit of different tones of we've got like green here, like a really nice light green, almost Jurassic Park-ish type of a green, and then we've got a nice brown stripe that actually starts here on the top of the head, then stripes down through the course of the body, all the way out into the tail before the tail completely transitions to that dark brown. And then we have kind of like a light yellowish brown here for the back running along the spinal column of the Compsognathus. And I think it looks really good as far as the coloration goes. And the sculpt, you can see the rib cage there in the stomach region of our little compy. Some really nice skin wrinkling and skin folding there in the throat region. You can also see the eyes painted with a nice reddish brown. If we can get a nice close look and it'll focus. There you go, you can see it. And a black pupil, has a beautiful gloss coat to it. It's nice to see some tones of color in there. I feel like they could have just given it just a straight up black and it still would have looked good, but they went the extra mile to give it, the nice reddish brown as well as a black pupil. You can see the nostrils sculpted out there at the tip of the snout. The mouth is sculpted in an open position. You can see a nice pinkish tone of color in there, as well as the teeth. All of the teeth are sculpted, and they actually kind of look like they're sculpted individually, which is really impressive for something so small. The arms are held up here in front of the body, almost like it's about to lunge in and maybe try to grab the bearded dragon. Sort of is the way it looks, and you can see that we have scoots down the course of the fingers, as well as some nicely sculpted out claws there at the tip of the fingers. I will say, though, I'm very intrigued to see that it only seems to have 2 fingers. Yeah, it definitely looks like it only has 2 fingers. Like it's got a smaller one back here, but that's very interesting. I would have expected it to have had 3 fingers, but we seem to only have 2. And then here on the feet, we have, again, nice scoots down the course of the toes, nicely painted nails. We have a brownish color for the hands as well as the feet. You can see the underside sports some pretty nice detail as well. I like how you can see like the muscles tensing because the legs are kind of spread apart. It's almost in like a slightly squatted position, and you can see that tensing right there. That's pretty nice detailing. But the fingers, again, are very, very strange. I can't figure out why they would only have 2 digits there for the hands of the Compsognathus. But outside of that, again, it's a pretty nice looking figure with a pretty fun looking pose to it. Pretty cool compy. And then we have ourselves the bearded dragon, and the bearded dragon is actually quite beautiful. Like, look at that. That is a beautiful, beautiful looking sculpt, and actually a pretty nice paint job. They've given it a nice greenish coloration, and they've hit it again with that dark wash that Schleich is so known for, and it really highlights the detail and allows the figure to look very lifelike. All of the detailing throughout is extremely vibrant as well, like it really jumps out at you, which is a huge plus. You can see the nails are painted on the figure, and you can also see the eye as well is painted very nicely. It's a very small eye, and look at how good of a job they've done at painting the eye. Same deal over here. They've also highlighted the ears on the bearded dragon as well, again with a darkish coloration, and then you can see that the mouth is in an open position. We have a pink tone in there for the inside of the mouth. So really nice, absolutely gorgeous looking model of a bearded dragon, and definitely a really fun extra to go with this set. I don't think I have any bearded dragon models in my collection, so that one is definitely an exciting one. And then we've got ourselves the Ceratosaurus Skull, and this thing again is huge as I'm knocking everything over here. You can see though that the actual detailing of the skull is beautifully done. Like there is a lot of really nice fine detail in the crests of the Ceratosaurus. Like you can see some nice cracks and crevices throughout. Same deal down here for the skull. Again, as you move along, the actual texturing is really, really nice looking. And then as you run down here to the earthy area, you can see we basically just have a green kind of, I guess you could take it as either a grassy area or a mossy area where the Ceratosaurus skull seems to have potentially just started to become buried a little bit here as far as the lower jaw. You can see it kind of ends here, whereas I guess the rest of that is under the ground. You can't really see it, and that provides us this nice little kind of an earthy area here for your dinosaurs to walk into. The earthy area as well is actually really beautifully textured and sports a nice greenish tone. And then the Ceratosaurus skull itself, again, is strictly a white coloration, but you can see it really does look absolutely awesome from every side. And detail-wise, like, it is super impressive how good the detail of this Ceratosaurus skull is. Schleich really did do an excellent job of making sure this looks quite lifelike, I think, when it comes to this very cool extra included in this set. So, on top of a bearded dragon and two really cool dinosaur figures, you get this incredible and quite huge Ceratosaurus skull. So let's go ahead and check out the articulation of this as well. So basically what you would want to happen, I guess, we would put our little bearded dragon here in the mouth. It's going to tempt either our compy to come in and get a little confrontational with the bearded dragon, or the raptor itself. No matter what you're going to take in here, we could throw them all in here. And then if I can get them in there, there we go. We're going to try to close the mouth. So once we actually get them all in there, there we go. We've got the mouth closed, and the Ceratosaurus skull has successfully eaten all of our dinosaurs and our lizard that is included here. But again, you've got three different lengths that you can articulate it. Well, you can have it closed, then you can open it to that point, and you can open it once more to make it really wide open. So it's really up to you. As far as a playability standpoint goes, I think this is definitely a set that kids will love. But as far as an adult collector standpoint goes, this is also an excellent set, because not only do you get a really cool exclusive Compsognathus, an exclusive Velociraptor paint scheme, as well as a really cool bearded dragon, but you get an immense and beautiful looking Ceratosaurus skull. As far as a size goes for the skull, if we're going to measure the earthy area, you are looking at about 9 inches or 23 centimeters in length. And then for a height, if the mouth is at this positioning, it is about 9.5 inches or around 21.5 centimeters. Now, of course, you can make that go wider if you extend it up further, but that's at this point, that's how that measures out. The bearded dragon, pretty darn small. For a length, you're looking at about, I'd say around the 2.5 inch range, or about 6 centimeters, closing in on 2.5 inches. For a height, about 1.25 inches maybe, or around 3 centimeters. He's nice and small. Our compy is also pretty small. For a length on the compy, the tail's curved in an upward positioning, so we'll just go from the top of the tail over here to the head. You're looking at, I would say about 2 3/4 inches, or around 7 centimeters. And then for a height to the top of the tail, a little over, I'd say actually about 3.25 inches, or almost 8.5 centimeters. You know, it's getting there. And then for the raptor itself, get the compy out of the way completely. For the raptor itself, you're looking at lengthwise about the 6.5 inch range, or 16.5 centimeters. And then height about the 4.25 inch range, or around 10.5, closing in on 11 centimeters. For a size comparison, there is the Schleich Tyrannosaurus, which is definitely a pretty large Schleich figure in comparison to this set. And obviously, if you're a fan, I would say, of the Schleich line, you're probably going to have a pretty good idea roughly of what the size of the figures here are. Like the compy, you can see it's obviously smaller than the raptor quite a bit. The raptor has been out for an extended period of time. If you are a Schleich collector, especially of the prehistoric line, by now you've probably encountered or own the original version of that Schleich Velociraptor. This Rex is also a really popular figure from the Schleich brand, and you can see that that Rex is pretty much dwarfed by that Ceratosaurus skull, again, showing how exceptionally large the Schleich Ceratosaurus skull is here. Probably one of the most impressively large things I think I've seen from Schleich. Like, I have some really cool play sets and everything from them, but as far as like a dinosaur type collectible goes, this Schleich Ceratosaurus Skull is off the charts awesome. So this Velociraptor Dinosaur Skull playset, which I believe is roughly what it's called on the Schleich website, is definitely a really cool set, and actually one that I'm a big fan of now after finally getting a hold of it. It's probably one of my favorite Schleich sets that I have in my collection. First of all, the Raptor. The Raptor is really cool. Of course, it's not your most accurate version of a Raptor. It's been released for an extended period of time, so you can see immediately that it's not an up-to-date version of the Raptor just because of the fact that it's not a feathered Raptor. We have some feathers kind of running down the arm, but the majority of the figure has more of like a Jurassic Park kind of Raptor look with some nice scaly texturing and everything throughout. And it looks really cool as far as what we perceived Raptors to look like at one time. I definitely think it's a pretty nice interpretation, and the detailing, especially when it comes to a Schleich release, you're always going to get super, super high amounts of detail. You definitely see that throughout the course of the Raptor, and the paint application and paint scheme is beautiful as well. Very nice naturalistic looking paint application, and the paint scheme that they've chosen as well is really quite nice. The Compy, definitely a very cool figure. I love the fact that we have a Compsognathus from Schleich. I don't believe it's ever had a regular standalone release, so I'm sure that this particular version is an exclusive to this set, which is also pretty fun. And the sculpt is really cool, kind of nicely captures what a Compsognathus would look like potentially. And we also have a really nice paint application for it, which I think is also pretty cool. The only thing that's a little bit of a downside for the Compy is the fact that it seems to only have 2 fingers rather than 3 like it should, but it is still a pretty cool little figure regardless. And then we have the bearded dragon. The bearded dragon is gorgeous, like really beautifully capturing the likeness of a bearded dragon and giving it a nice green paint scheme with a beautiful dark wash. Really makes it look super lifelike, if you ask me. Really happy to have that figure here in my collection. And then the Ceratosaurus Skull is gigantic with a nice mixture of plastic and rubbers. It's definitely a really cool addition to this set. Like the teeth and parts of the skull are actually kind of a rubber, so they bend, and making it very safe if you're going to buy this for your kids or your grandkids or whatever you're interested in doing with it. But even again, as an adult collector, at least I'm not going to hurt myself with this because I tend to be very accident prone, so the fact that it is a rubber is helpful when it comes to that, but it also doesn't suffer from being rubber. I think it looks just as impressive on the rubber areas as it does in the plastic areas, and everything on the Ceratosaurus skull is extremely highly detailed, and I love the fact that it's kind of like half buried there in the ground as far as the lower jaw, kind of capturing a Ceratosaurus that may have died quite a ways back and now is slowly starting to disappear into the earth, and definitely a really cool appearance and a cool way to display the Ceratosaurus skull. And of course, the articulation allowing you to trap your dinosaurs inside of it is pretty fun, but also just in general, as far as a display standpoint, it's also really cool because you can again open the mouth as wide as you'd like or close the mouth. It's really up to you. It's definitely a fun addition to this set. So as a whole, I really recommend picking this one up. Definitely a awesome release on the part of Schleich. So if you are interested, I will include a link in the description to where you can purchase this on the Schleich website. So make sure you check that out. Head on over there and purchase yourself this really cool Velociraptor Skull Trap playset. And make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.